You have seen the short film, Voices from the Sidelines, which is written and directed by brilliant young creators Laika Gonzalez and Pau Villanueva. Like the women in our documentary, both of them are working in a field dominated by men. Spark Philippines believes that there is no such thing as men's field.
And now, as we move forward into our panel discussion, we are truly grateful for Her Excellency, the Ambassador Michelle Bocos of the Embassy of France to the Philippines, for joining us in this meaningful discussion. And joining the ambassador, we are honored and grateful to also have with us today Lisa Dino, Chair of the Film Development Council of the Philippines. Since her appointment as president of the FDCP, the Competent Philippine Audio Visual Authority, actress by profession, Lisa Dino has dedicated herself to promoting Filipino cinema internationally. She has supported the participation of Filipino films in international festivals and has ensured the national presence in international markets. A warm welcome to FDCP Chair Lisa Dino. Also joining us today are the film's brilliant creators. First, allow me to introduce filmmaker Pau Villanueva. Pau Villanueva is a queer Filipino photographer who documents the plight of society's most vulnerable. Pau's works are an exploration of the human condition, the discovery of self, of others, of the mountains of differences in between, and the empathy through which we cross them. A warm welcome to filmmaker Pau Villanueva.
Thank you so much.
Also with us is one of the film's creators as well, Laika Gonzalez, filmmaker and communications professional. Laika is a documentary filmmaker and member of the United Nations Youth Advisory Board in the Philippines, representing the youth in the creative arts and informal sector. As a creative worker, Laika believes in using stories as a force for good. She integrates her strengths in visual journalism with a development practice to drive collective action toward gender and social justice. A warm welcome to filmmaker Laika Gonzalez. Thank you so much for being with us today. And everyone has seen the film. And of course, Laika and Pau, you created the film. We're honored to have with us, of course, the ambassador as well, Her Excellency Michelle Bocos, who will also be joining us for this discussion. And of course, thank you once again for already viewing the film in advance. You've had a sneak peek. You have special insights that you can give on why we all need to see this film. I myself, my personal point of view, like Pau, I'd really like to share that it was incredible to see such diverse stories and diverse backgrounds, but to be able to connect to every single one of them still, even in that diversity, really showing that when it comes to our humanity, we are all united and we are all the same. And with that, I'd like to transition over to Pau and Laika. Nabanggit din ni Chair Lisa, our young filmmakers. So I go, oops, that's Pau and Laika right there, of course, our creators of the film. And I guess I wanted to just ask you the same question that I had given to Chair Lisa. How do you see yourselves as change agents in the realm of entertainment and media and film, television, and what do you want to see? What do you want to put out there? What is your most fervent wish when it comes to your craft?
Thank you, Antoinette, and thank you also, Chair Lisa. That's an impassioned segment of yours. And you really hit the nail on the head when you said that we need to work on representation through the content that we create. And that is exactly what the intention is behind this film. We wanted to explore the plurality of womanhood, of feminism, and of being a Filipino woman in the Philippines. And yeah, and I hope that we also were able to depict the different kinds of womanhood through the film that we created. But to answer your question, Antoinette, how do we see ourselves as agents of change by changing minds and hearts? For me, I've always seen myself as a storyteller, but I also believe that there is more to be done beyond telling stories. Apart from being a filmmaker, I also represent the youth in the creative arts and informal sector at the United Nations Youth Advisory Board. And our role there is to directly advise UN agencies in the country how we can make more inclusive policies, especially make it more inclusive for the youth in our specific sectors. So, one measure of success for me as a creative worker is how we are able to change really the lives of the people around us and also shape the culture and the policies here in the Philippines and beyond. Integrating policies with development initiatives like this and through storytelling as well to drive collective action is what I really aspire as a filmmaker and as a creative worker.
Thank you, Laika. As we always say, we want to turn inspiration into action. I'd like to turn over to your partner in creating this wonderful short film, Laika Gonzalez. Thank you so much for such brilliant work. And once again, as a creator, I know that you were responsible for the film itself, but were there any stories in particular that you really related with, or that just took you back to maybe even a different story in your past? That you feel change needs to be done or it needs to be talked about?
Thank you so much, Antoinette. Like all the women in the film, they all drew strength from their family. And I feel fortunate to have a family who has been so supportive of my growth as a filmmaker and also as a woman navigating my life and my career here in the Philippines and beyond. I look back to how my father has encouraged me to pave my own path since day one. And also my husband, who has been there for me through many challenges and triumphs. Both of them, the men in my life, have seen me in my most vulnerable moments. And yet they are also the very people who remind me that my womanhood should never come in the way of my pursuit for excellence.
Wow, beautifully said, Laika. Thank you so much. I really appreciate all your views about the film, and I appreciate Pao and Laika that you actually put this together in such a mindful and thoughtful and kind and compassionate way, of course, together with Miss Maika Teves. And one final question to our creators, Pao and Laika. I just wanted to go back to you one final time for you to just give your thoughts again and your stories of what do you wish, what do you hope to achieve with the short film that you have created? What message do you want to send out with these powerful stories that you have curated and that have developed? Pao or Laika?
Thank you so much, Antoinette. The intention of this film really is to highlight the cross-cutting issues and the intersectional subordination that women face from across spheres in the Philippines today, especially at the time of a pandemic, and how patriarchy still persists in our views, in our belief systems, in our culture as a collective. And these we must undo and unlearn. These women, these excellent women we highlighted through this film show just that how we can, in our own spheres, experience discrimination and injustice, but at the same time, go against the current, fight against these forces that prevent women and LGBT community from having equal stake in governance, in politics, in health, and even in the environment. We draw inspiration from these women whose courage and determination and actions not only affect lives but also pave the path toward change and healing. And despite this pandemic, what we learn is that we can still foster change and we cannot give up now. We must act together and we can change communities and our culture here as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you so much.